Okay, we're learning a mimer from Shabbos Parshas Noach. Beis Rosh Chodesh Mar Cheshvan. It was the same kvias like this year, where it's Friday Shabbos was Rosh Chodesh, and because when it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we read a special Haftorah, which talks about these psukim that we're going to talk about right now. השמים כסאי והארץ, הדום רגלי, the heavens are my throne, and the earth is my footstool. The Gemara explains, Echad lekisei ve'echad leshrafraf, that one, in other words, the heavens is made as a throne for the Eibishter, a seat for the Eibishter, and the earth is made as a footstool, kisei leishaval, of a throne to sit upon it. V'shrafraf shla adom raglav, and a mini stool to support his feet, to raise up his feet. It's going on the time of Golus and Geula. I'm not exactly sure. Perhaps he means to say that Golus is the time of the Regel of Hashem, and the Kissei is the level of Shamayim. The Geula is level of Shamayim Kissei. Not sure exactly what he means over here with the Zman HaGolus VaGeula, unless he's saying also that the pasuk Hashemayim Kisi V'Aretz Adom רגלי is referring to both during the time of Golus, it's that way, and also during the time of Geula. The Alter Rebbe in Torah Oyer also begins the whole Sefer Torah Oyer with a mimer titled Hashemayim Kisi V'Aretz Adom רגלי, and he asked the following question: how is it even possible to say about Hashem that he has a throne and he has a footstool? A throne and a footstool is only possible if you have a physical body to sit down in a throne or in a seat and to raise up your feet. But if there's no physical body, if there's no image of a body even, how can you have a seat and a footstool? The Eibishter doesn't even have an image of a body, so therefore, how can we say that he has a throne and a footstool? The Alter Rebbe in Torah explains the inyan akisehu. What is the idea of a throne? In other words, we must say that the throne over here is a spiritual concept. For example, by a person down here below, just like through a seat. What happens is that the person's head and body is lowered than the way it is when it's standing. When the person is standing, they might be 5-6 feet tall. When they sit down, they are lowering their height. They are lowering their head and their body. So in a similar vein, just like a physical chair is the means and the expression of the lowering of a person's head and body, the same thing when we talk about a chair in the spiritual sense, in a similar vein above, the idea of a throne is in a chair, that through that chair, through that throne, is what causes the lowering and drawing down of Hashem here below. So we're saying that the heavens are what does it. The heavens are his throne. In other words, the heavens are the seat. The heavens are the cause of him, Hashem descending down here below. So we're going to have to identify what exactly are the heavens that it's referring to over here that causes Hashem to lower himself. So he says, concerning this, the pasuk says, Hashemayim kisi v'adam shachu, that the heavens are my throne, that the drawing down of Hashem below, that comes about through the level of the heavens. That's what brings about the lowering of Hashem down here below. But what is the heavens then? That's bringing Hashem down. It says the b'china shamayim hu inyan Torah. The level of the heavens is the Torah, as it says, min hashamayim dibarti imachem. That Hashem spoke from the heavens. When he gave the Eden the Torah, he spoke from the heavens. So we see the association of Torah with the level of heavens. Ubepratius yoiser, and more specifically, hu inyan Torah shebeksav. In Torah itself, the written Torah, that is the level of the heavens in Torah itself. Through the level of Torah, nasam shach lamata, so that causes the drawing down of Hashem from above to below. V'adom raglov, and the footstool, k'moishrafrav shu kisei cotton, is that's like a small chair. In other words, a small seat instead of a big seat that a person sits down in. It's a small seat to raise the legs. It's what's placed under the feet of the one who's sitting in a chair to raise their feet up. What does that mean spiritually? Just like we explained spiritually, the idea of a seat is about lowering the person's head and body. What's the idea spiritually about raising the feet? The meaning and intention behind this is when it's drawn down from above to below. It's possible for the drawing down of Hashem to be also to a place that's inappropriate, not where it's supposed to go, because once the Hamshach has come down, it could be in such a way where things don't really come out in the right way, and it can come down lower than what was intended. For this, the need of the footstool, that the footstool raises up the feet and the legs. This means the drawing down should not be to a place that's inappropriate, just like it lifts up the legs from touching the ground. When it comes down from above to below through the level of the heavens that we said before, that's the level of Torah. Bepratis, and more specifically, what level of Torah is coming down from above to below? That's Torah shebeksav, that's the written Torah, because that's the actual words of Hashem, as opposed to the oral Torah, which is coming from below to above. It's what the Yidden are revealing. Until it comes down very much below, until the feet, and until this low world, that there's no world lower than it. There could be that the external ones, the clippers, could nurse from it, could derive energy and vitality from that hamshacha that's coming from above. So that the opposite side should not be able to nurse and derive any energy from it. For this it says, that the earth is my footstool. Through the level of the earth, mitzvahs in action sanctify and raise up earthly things, that only where there's mitzvahs, over there will godliness become revealed. And if something has no connection with mitzvahs and doesn't have the bittul that mitzvahs has, so then you're not going to be able to tap into the godly life force. Just like Shamayim va'aretz is Torah and mitzvahs, but we also said Shamayim specifically is the written Torah. So the contrast of that is Valderech ze b'Torah atzma, similarly in Torah itself, in Shamayim u'Torah shebeksav, the heavens, that's the written Torah. The Eretz u'Torah sheba'peh, the earth is the oral Torah, because that's coming from us, that's coming from the Yidden down here below. Concerning this, he says, Hashemayim kisi, the heaven is my throne, Shaydei Torah shebeksav nasa kisi, through the written Torah, it becomes my throne. It's drawing down from above to below, like we say when a person sits down, he lowers himself. Like the L'chutei Torah explains, what does it mean that Tanakh is called by the Chazal Mikra? There's Mikra, Mishnah, Gemara. Mikra is going on the 24 books of Tanakh. What's the idea? Why is it called Mikra? So the simple meaning is because the focus is the reading. It's something that's read from a Torah scroll, etc. But in the Alter Rebbe explains, Mikra means ka'adam ha'koide l'chaveiroi, like a person that calls their friend, or kiben ha'koide l'oviv, or like a child that calls their father. Meaning, in this case, that the Torah Shebeksav is called Mikra, Shaydei Torah Shebeksav koide mamshcha l'kus lamata v'cholu, through the written Torah, person is calling and drawing down godliness down here below. V'aretz hadom ragloi, in the earth is my footstool, who in Torah Shebal Peh is the oral Torah. The dafke mit Torah Shebal Peh yuchel ladas halacha l'poil, only from the oral Torah could we actually know a halacha, because could this be Geras HaKodesh, like it's brought down Tanya in the Geras HaKodesh, to be able to know the detailed halachs of tefillin and how to place them when one wears them. It's insufficient for it says in the written Torah. You should bind them as a sign on your hand or on your arms, because from that we don't know. What are we binding? Where on the arm do we place it? Only from the oral Torah do we know all the details. That's what it means. That the greatness of Torah study is that it brings to action as only from the oral Torah can we know the specific halachas, how to fulfill the mitzvahs. And therefore, once we are able to fulfill the mitzvahs, only through this becomes the footstool that raises up the feet, so that the hamshacha that comes out from Hashem down here below is not going to give any vitality to the external ones, to the klippos, because as we said before, through the performance of mitzvahs, according to the directives of Torah Shebal Peh, through that we ensure that the hamshacha of above only reaches to those that are entitled to it, to those that are fulfilling mitzvahs. Top of the next page. Move on from this is understood. That there's an advantage in the level of the earth. That the earth is the level of the actions of the mitzvahs. And specifically, there's an advantage in the part of Torah, that's the oral Torah. It affects these two things, the oral Torah and the mitzvahs, affects the raising up of Hashem's feet. And it has an advantage Hashamim over the heavens, that it's a level of Torah, and specifically in Torah itself, the heavens is the written Torah. That through the written Torah becomes a drawing down from above to below. So the question is, what is the advantage when you're raising up from below to above over drawing down from above to below? Though in the Torah, and especially in the written Torah, godliness is revealed as opposed to the oral Torah, that the oral Torah was enclosed in worldly matters, and Vyeshnam Kushis Valamas Stadium and the oral Torah, there's all types of questions and concealments and coverings, Vad Latinas Shal Sheker, until it even talks about arguments that some people even say false things in Bezdin. So you would think that would be a lower level of Torah, whereas Torah Shebeksav, it speaks about miracles, it speaks about Hashem talking, etc., whether it's talking to Moshe, talking to the Nevi'im, it's all so much more spiritual and high and godly revelations. Still in all, he says, only through the oral Torah becomes Hashem's footstool. The dafkai de Torah Shebal Peh b'chlos ma'aseh mitzvahs. Only through the oral Torah and in general the actions of mitzvahs, nasa inyan da lafrushi me'asura isura, becomes the idea of separating from that which is prohibited, because the oral Torah tells us the distinction of what is permitted and what's prohibited that one cannot derive just from learning the written Torah, just learning Chumash, just learning Tanakh. And when one separates oneself from what is prohibited, through that the sparks become refined, that the klippus should not be able to nurse and derive any vitality from it, because when chas v'sholom a person does engage in something that's prohibited, so that gives vitality and energy to klippa. So when he studies Torah Sheba'al Peh and he knows this is prohibited, this is permitted, so he is able to raise up the sparks and not allow it to fall into the clutches of the klippa. To such a degree that even if he transgressed, but through the teachings of Torah Sheba'al Peh, he can transform it as doinus nas like hizachias, that the even intentional sins through tshuva, out of love, can become into merits. The mitzad Torah shebaksav from the perspective of the written Torah, since behold, my words are like fire, meaning just like fire, the Chazal say, is not susceptible to tumah, the same thing, the words of Hashem, the Torah shebaksav, are not susceptible to tumah, so it can go down even in a place of klippa. It says in the pasuk, the one that rests with them, even the Rebbe doesn't want to use the pasuk, the expression the pasuk, so he says the one who rests amongst them, even in the opposite of purity. That's all from the perspective of Torah shebaksav, and therefore since Hashem doesn't differentiate and can come down even so low, so it could be that the opposite side should nurse energy and vitality from this. Specifically through the oral Torah, that he knows the actual halacha, not just the theory and the general idea, the way it's in Torah shebaksav, but the specific details and the minutiae, what's prohibited and what's permitted. We effectually that there should not be any nursing of the clip. Second paragraph on the page. This is what the Rebbe explained in earlier Mamorim in that year. What we learned in last week's parsha in Parsha Bereshis, in the day that Havaya Elokim made the earth and the heavens. On the other hand, it says at the beginning of creation, Bereshis bara Elokim as השמים והארץ. Then the beginning Hashem created the heavens and the earth. Because of that, there's a dispute. Beis Shammai says that the heavens were made first and the earth was made afterwards. Whereas Beis Hillel holds from this pasuk, B'yom asois havaya Elokim eretz v'shamayim, that the earth was made first and then the heavens. And Chassidus explains it's really not an argument. In order of Seder Hishtalshalos, of actual creation, first had to be the spiritual worlds before the physical worlds could come into being. But in level, significance, importance, and value, earth is higher. Earth is the level of mitzvahs, earth is the level of Torah Sheba'al Peh, because it raises up and causes the birur hanitzoitzes, so the klippus can't glom onto it. So he says in the second line of the second paragraph, the eretz kadmul shamayim kedas Beis Hillel, that from the pasuk b'yom asois havaya Elokim eretz v'shamayim, we derive that the earth preceded the heavens, like the opinion of Beis Hillel. Now the Rebbe is going to go back to Simchas Torah and connect this advantage of the earth and the footstool and going from above to below with the whole concept of Simchas Torah. This is also the connection with Simchas Torah, that the joy is expressed specifically and particularly through dancing with our feet. Not through studying in depth. We know that also brings joy. During Tisha B'Av or some other times of mourning, a person is prohibited from learning many in-depth aspects of Torah because Torah is because Hashem Mishar Mesam Chelev. So the study of Torah could also bring us to joy. Or or we do not rejoice through reading from the Torah. That's not the main thing of Simchas Torah. These two things, studying Torah in depth, or reading the Torah, the Sefer Torah. These are all spiritual things. But rather, how do we rejoice on Simchas Torah, Ladafka, Kudim, specifically through dancing? Shu inyan hamaisa, that's the level of action. Yoiser gamya oisis aksuvim malaklaf, even more so than the action of having letters, physical letters written on a physical parchment of a Sefer Torah. But it's not as low and it's not as aretz as much as actually dancing in the ground. So the Rebbe asks a very obvious question throughout the older Rebbe's Chassidus. He asked this the whole time. The Lechura in the movement, seemingly it's not understood. Hale besimchas Torah yitzir tzarech liyis limud Torah be'iyun u'bepilpul. And Simchas Torah should have been Torah study in depth and with great pilpul, u'beshkida, b'asmada, very diligent and constant and consistent. Ulapoyel, and in actuality, minig Yisrael, who the custom of Yidden is shas simcha b'simcha Torah, the joy of Simchas Torah. It's not from the fact, like it says about a certain person in the Talmud, that in the Gemara, that he became very joyous because he found a new, unknown teaching, or an old teaching, or an ancient teaching. So instead of rejoicing because of finding some new teaching and some new insight, rather, what's the rejoicing on Simchas Torah? Ki'im shaloichim Sefer Torah kefishim utefes b'mapa shalo. We take a Sefer Torah the way it's wrapped up in its cover. Umarakdim imam, we dance with it. K'meshu kasav b'zor, like it says in the Zohar, v'noigim lemevad Yisrael ima chedva v'skiriyas Simchas Torah. That it's customary to make with the Torah a rejoicing, and this is what's called Simchas Torah. And it says also over there in the Zohar that you adorn and you crown the Sefer Torah with its crown. The simple meaning is you put the crowns on the Sefer Torah. But it's really, with saying this idea about the crown of the Sefer Torah, we are really explaining how great the dancing with the Torah is. So the Rebbe explains this, the idea behind this is, the idea how to kudim through dancing, magim etzma Torah, kimaishi l'mayla magiluyim the Torah. We reach the essence of the Torah the way it's beyond the revelations of the Torah. The revelations of the Torah is the intellectual aspect of the Torah. And therefore, if we were to only rejoice out of understanding Torah and finding a new idea in Torah and so on, we wouldn't be tapping into the essence of the Torah. But dancing, action, the lowest level, that is something that taps into the essence of the Torah, that transcends intellect, that transcends the revealed part of the Torah. Like it says in Kutei Torah, then the crown of a good name shines. In the Pirkei Avos it says that there are three crowns. There's the Keser of priesthood, Keser Kuna. There's Keser, the crown of kingship, Keser Malchus. There's Keser Torah, the crown of Torah. And then there's Keser Shem Tov Ha'oil Al Gabeim. And then there's the crown of a good name that rises up higher than that. And that is what we reach through the Keser Torah, which was reached through the dancing, not through Torah study. Shemagbias kol adam biyachdim hakeser delay lemakim shalamayla gam hakeser, that raises up the entire person along with his crown to a place that's beyond even the crown, to the very essence. So the question is, what is it about the earth and the lowest level that is so much greater and so much more powerful than the throne and the heavens and so on? The last paragraph on the second page, in the advantage of action, and specifically the level of earth. The hinin is Baraleh was explained in a previous mimer in that year. That the yesh can only come into being only by the power of Hashem's very essence. The Beseder Ilava Olol, in the order of the chain descent of cause and effect throughout the entire Seder Ishtalshalos, Hariba Illa Yeshnam Kama Madregis. In the cause, there are different levels. There's Tachtisoi, there's the bottom level of the cause. The Emtzeisoi, there's the middle level of the cause. ve'elyon shabai, and there is the highest level of the cause. V'aseder be'ilav v'olu, and the order in cause and effect is shatachten shebe'elyon nasa elyon latachten. The lowest level of the higher part becomes the higher level of the lowest part. The famous example is when you have a chain, so the lower piece of the upper link in the chain is threaded through the upper part of the lower link in the chain. That is only possible when you're dealing with different levels coming down, beruchnius, from one level to another level to another level. But when you need to come down into making the physical world is a totally different thing than the spiritual. So he says on the last line, as opposed to the coming into being of the physical yesh, that comes from Hashem's very essence, that Hashem's essence has no prior cause that preceded him. Therefore, it's impossible to make divisions. In other words, in the upper and lower links of the chain, so the upper part of the lower is connected to the lower part of the upper, but it has nothing to do with the upper part of the upper. But when the yesh comes from Hashem's essence, and he has no prior cause, so there is no upper and lower levels, and you cannot divide it that way. So the connection of the yesh with Hashem's essence is in an indivisible manner. The etzem kashater toifes b'miktsasiat toifes b'kuli, the essence, when you grab hold of a part of it, you grab hold its entirety. For example, let's say that a plane starts shaking in turbulence, and somebody is going to grab hold of the seat in front of them. So are they holding the entire seat? Yes. But what part of the entire seat? They might just be holding a handbreadth of the entire seat. Yet they're holding on to the seat in front of them, or they're holding on to the person in front of them. The same thing with Hashem's essence. Even though it's impossible, like to say that you can grasp Hashem's entirety, but when you grasp him, you're grasping his entirety. So, therefore, there's no division of parts, like we're saying in Ilav Va'alul, that the lower level in the spiritual only connects with the upper of the lower level, only connects with the lower of the higher level. Now the Rebbe says, but you're calling it miksasei. You're calling it the essence. When you grasp part of it, you're grasping all of it. So you are making divisions. So he says in the second line on the page, though we're saying, we're calling it a bit of it, a part of it, that seemingly it seems to indicate you don't have the thing itself. Still in all idea through this you are grasping its entirety. Like it's explained in Mamorim that explain these topics about how through the part of it you're grasping its entirety completely. Since in the physical yesh, down here in our world, which is not to be found anywhere else in the heavenly spheres, only in the Aretz is to be found the power of Hashem's essence. Therefore, in those things that are called Aretz is also the main advantage and main quality, the oral Torah, because the oral Torah directs us how to use the physical world for mitzvahs. Shegodl Talmud, what is the greatness of Torah study? Shemevil de Ma'aseh, brings to action. Through that becomes a home for the Eibishter down here below. That's also why the Haftorah over there it continues. That to this one I will look, to one who is poor and low of spirit. What does the poverty and low of spirit indicate? Not the heavenly spheres, but the yesh down here. It's the level of Eretz, abit. Therefore, specifically to this, I will look, because Hashem's connection is with the lowest level. Second paragraph in Israel, Masha Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi. That's why the third Beis Hamikdash, though it's already built, and it's already ready above in the spiritual worlds, and it calls man shloi balamat, as long as it has not come down here below. The golus still goes on, and it's a double and quadruple darkness. This exile is not just in this world, but even in the spiritual worlds. It's in all the worlds. Even though we say the Beis Hamikdash is built in the spiritual worlds, they are also in the state of exile. That's brought down in, I think it's a Lashon Kabbalah, that the difficulty, or maybe it's a Maimer Chazal, that the discomfort and the oppression of Yidden reaches in every place, until we say in every trouble and every oppression, He, Hashem, is suffering along with us. And it's necessary the Beis Hamikdash should come dafke, specifically down here. The Beis Hamikdash should be built in its place. Once the Beis Hamikdash is built in its place, then there will be the gathering of all scattered Yidden. And the scattered Yidden doesn't just mean the physical bodies of human beings that are part of Jewish people, but it's also indicating shu kibbutz kol hamitzvot shebegolus. It's also the collecting and gathering of all the sparks that are in exile. And how will that all those sparks join and return to its source? That's through, like we said before, the building of the Beis Hamikdash down here, not in the upper world. The Beis Hamikdash needs to be built in its place, in the same location of the first and second Beis Hamikdash, not just be in the heavens, and then all the sparks can return.
So Kitty and I were just talking about this. Are we keeping the Beis Hamikdash from?
In a similar vein, it's in the avoid of every single one. The goal is not just going in depth in Torah, only in the actions of the literal actions of the mitzvahs. Like we said before concerning the dances in Simchas Torah, through that we reach the essence. The same thing throughout the year. It's the mitzvahs that cause us to reach the essence. 5 days of Boim L'Mashim Ba'Haftorah. Through that we arrive at what he concludes in the Haftorah. That it says that every month and every Shabbos, all flesh will come to bow down in the Beis Hamikdash. It's brought about this in Yalkut Shemoini. But Olam has, in this world, in other words, before Mashiach came, when there was the Beis Hamikdash and there was Oila Regel, that they used to have the pilgrimage festivals of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, Hayisim Oila Meshana Shalosh Pamim. You would go up to the Beis Hamikdash 3 times a year only. Kishiagia case when the end of times, when Mashiach's times come, at the Masidim Lias Olam Sham, B'chol Chodesh, you are in the future going to go up over there every single month. Like it says, it'll be every single month you will go. Like it says, who are like those that they will fly like a cloud. In other words, the Yid will fly like a cloud to the Beis Hamikdash, and like doves returning to their dovecote. Like it's explained in a different place and what the Chazal speak about this. Then it will be that Hashem will be king over the entire earth, and Havaya will be a light for the world and an everlasting light. Similar to every month going up, and the redeemed of Avaya will return, and they will come back in Zion with song, the Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, and the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, with Simchas Olam al Roshim, and an everlasting joy